You know that moment when you finally save a decent amount of money and suddenly a question hits you like a ton of bricks. Now what? Maybe you've been saving for years. You've skipped the expensive lattes, you've worked the extra shifts, and you've been disciplined. Now, for the first time in your life, you're looking at your bank account and seeing a real chunk of cash. It's not millions, not yet, but it's significant. Maybe it's $10,000, maybe $20,000, maybe even 50. And suddenly, the world starts shouting advice at you. Your uncle sits you down and says, "Smith, buy gold. Gold is the only real money. It never loses value. Governments can't print it." Then your friend, who just bought a condo, says, "No, you need real estate. Property prices only go up. They aren't making any more land." You open YouTube, and it's even worse. There are 50 experts telling you 10 different things. One person says gold is the safest asset on earth. Another says real estate is the greatest wealth creator in human history. And you just sit there, staring at your screen, thinking, okay, but which one is actually better for me? Because honestly, the difference between choosing the right investment and the wrong one isn't just a few dollars. It's the difference between slowly building a legacy and watching your money sit in a bank account doing absolutely nothing for 10 years, while prices everywhere else keep climbing. I think about this stuff a lot. My name is Nick, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, why people invest the way they do, and why some people quietly build massive wealth over decades, while others keep working hard but never seem to move forward financially. Today, we are going to unpack something surprisingly simple, yet deeply misunderstood. Gold versus real estate. Which one makes more sense in 2026? Which one protects you? Which one grows your wealth? The answer might surprise you, because it isn't just about the math, it's about psychology, risk, and the kind of future you are trying to build. Section 1. Why this matters more than ever in 2026. Let's start with the reality of the world we live in right now. The year is 2026, and the world feels uncertain. Inflation isn't just a word in a textbook anymore. It's something we feel every time we go to the grocery store or pay our electricity bill. Currencies are rising and falling. Housing prices are swinging wildly. In many cities, the dream of owning a home feels like it's slipping away for the average person. 20 years ago, the advice was simple. Work a stable job, save your money, buy a house, invest in a few stocks, and retire peacefully. But today, that standard path feels broken. Interest rates move like a roller coaster. Gold is hitting new highs. People are scared, and that fear leads to the same question. Where should I actually put my money? Let's be honest for a second. Keeping your money in a standard savings account is basically losing money in slow motion. Inflation quietly eats your purchasing power every single year. That $10,000 sitting in cash today might only buy $7,000 worth of goods 10 years from now. That is why we look for assets. We want something real, something tangible, something that holds its value when the world gets crazy. Historically, two assets have always captured the human imagination: gold and land. Even thousands of years ago, people trusted these two things. Kings stored gold in vaults. Families passed down land through generations. Entire civilizations were built on these two pillars, so it's not surprising that we're still arguing about them today. But here's the secret. Gold and real estate solve two very different financial problems. Once you understand that, the decision becomes much easier. Section 1. Gold, humanity's oldest financial insurance. Let's talk about gold first. Gold is fascinating. For thousands of years, humans have looked at this shiny yellow metal and collectively agreed this thing has value. Why? Because it's durable. It doesn't rust. It doesn't decay. It's rare, and it's almost impossible for a government to just create more of it out of thin air. When a government wants more money, they print it. When you want more gold, you have to find a mountain and dig it out. This is why gold is seen as a store of value. It's important to understand that gold isn't usually something that makes you rich quickly. Instead, gold is something that keeps you from becoming poor. Think of gold as financial insurance. When the economy collapses, gold tends to rise. When people stop trusting their government or their currency, they run to gold. It's a quiet safety net. Look at history. During the 2008 financial crash, or even the uncertainties of the early 2020s, gold prices surged. Why? Because investors wanted something stable. They didn't trust the banks, they didn't trust the systems, so they moved their money into something they could see and touch. But here's the part that surprises people. Gold doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't produce a product. It doesn't grow a crop. It doesn't pay you rent. It just sits there. If you buy a bar of gold and put it in a safe, 10 years later, you still have exactly 1 bar of gold. It hasn't grown. It hasn't worked for you. This means gold is defensive wealth, not productive wealth. It's a shield, not an engine. Section 3. Real estate, the wealth machine. Now let's look at the other side, real estate. Real estate works completely differently. If gold is a shield that protects you, real estate is a machine that builds wealth. Think about what a piece of land or a house actually does. It is productive. It can produce rent, monthly cash in your pocket. It can be appreciated in value. The price goes up over time. It can be improved. You can renovate a kitchen and suddenly the house is worth more. But the most powerful part of real estate is leverage. This is the secret sauce of the wealthy. Imagine 2 people, person A and person B. Both have $50,000. Person A buys $50,000 worth of gold. Person B uses that $50,000 as a down payment to buy a $200,000 rental property, borrowing the rest from the bank. If the market goes up by 10%, person A's gold is now worth $55,000. They made $5,000. Person B's property is now worth $220,000. They made $20,000. Even though the market grew by the same percentage, person B made 4 times more money because they used leverage. Real estate allows you to control a large asset with a relatively small amount of your own money. Over decades, as populations grow and cities expand, land becomes scarcer. This natural supply and demand squeeze is why real estate has created more millionaires than almost any other asset class. Section 4. The hidden problems with real estate. Now, I don't want to paint too perfect a picture. People love talking about the passive income of property, but they rarely talk about the headaches. First, real estate is expensive. You can buy $50 of gold today if you want. You usually can't buy $50 of a house. It requires a lot of upfront cash. Second, real estate is not liquid. If you have an emergency and need money tomorrow, you can sell your gold at a local shop in 20 minutes. You cannot sell half of a bathroom to pay for a medical bill. Selling a house takes months of paperwork, realtors, and waiting. Third, there's the responsibility. Maintenance, repairs, property taxes, difficult tenants, legal issues. Anyone who has ever owned a rental property knows the 2 a.m. phone call. It's your tenant. The water heater exploded. Suddenly, your passive investment has turned into a plumbing emergency that costs you $3,000 and a night of sleep. Gold never calls you at 2 a.m. Gold doesn't need a new roof. It just sits quietly in its vault. Real estate builds wealth, but it demands your time and your energy. Section 5. The psychology of gold versus property. This is where we get into the why of investing. Decisions about money are rarely just about the math. They're emotional. Gold appeals to people who value security. These are the people who worry about the what-ifs. What if the stock market crashes? What if the dollar becomes worthless? Gold investors are looking for peace of mind. They want to know that no matter what happens to the world, they have something of value. Real estate appeals to people who value growth. These are the people who look at a vacant lot and see a future apartment complex. They see opportunity. They're willing to deal with the stress and the tenants because they want to see their net worth climb. Both mindsets are valid, but you have to ask yourself, which one are you? Are you trying to protect what you have? Are you trying to build something you don't have yet? Section 6. The numbers. What does history say? If we look at the last 100 years, gold has averaged roughly 5 to 7% annual returns. It stays flat for long periods, then spikes during a crisis. Real estate has averaged roughly 8 to 12% when you combine the rental income and the price appreciation. On paper, real estate usually wins. But remember, the return on real estate doesn't account for the hours you spent fixing toilets or the stress of a vacant house. Gold's return is lower, but it is effortless. It's like comparing a tractor to a shield. One is designed to do hard work and produce a harvest. The other is designed to keep you safe during a battle. You can't say a shield is better than a tractor. They just have different jobs. Section 7. The inflation question. In 2026, inflation is the monster under everyone's bed. How do these two assets handle it? Gold is a classic inflation hedge. When the price of bread goes up, the price of gold usually goes up too. It keeps your head above water. But real estate actually benefits from inflation in a very clever way. Think about it. When inflation goes up, what happens? Rents go up. The value of the house goes up, but if you have a fixed-rate mortgage, your debt payment stays the same. In a weird way, inflation makes your debt cheaper to pay back over time. This is why the wealthiest investors in the world love real estate during times of high inflation. They let the rising prices do the heavy lifting for them. Section 8. Liquidity, the freedom factor. We need to talk about freedom. This is something people underestimate until they're in a bind. Liquidity is